All right. Hello, everybody. I see that there's already people in the chat, which is very cool. All right. Can you let me know if you can hear me properly? I'm not sure that my microphone is all right. Let me double check. All right. People say they can hear me properly. Very cool. Okay. So very nice. I see it's filling up. Yeah, let me give it like a minute or so for more people to join. Um, all right. So, okay. Today's stream is gonna be a little longer than usual, I think. There's a lot of things to cover. And there's a lot of really important and really big things to cover. So yeah, this is gonna be an interesting stream. I have a couple of bigger things to announce and talk about towards the beginning of the stream. But then I'll try to, let's say, rush a little bit through the end part of the stream that we usually do. Um, the previews for next month or whatever. Maybe I kind of rushed through those parts. But yes, there is some. Ooh, I'm getting excited. There's some cool stuff to talk about today. Okay. All right, we already have 45 people on stream. People keep joining. I guess. Okay, let's dive in with the first thing, which is, I guess, not as big, but well, it's big for us. But I suppose most people maybe already know about it that are on the stream. But whatever. Let's just get into it. Okay, so first thing to talk about. All right, we have a new website. So let me get this camera proper. Oh yeah, by the way, for people that are joining us for the first time, this is a very chill, very relaxed, just kind of chatting about stuff stream. So don't expect, super prepared and whatever. This is my bedroom, so like we're just chilling here. That's why it's called a hangout. All right, so new website. So, this is a project that we worked on for a long time, and we've been mentioning in the streams for the last 3-4 months. Finally, the new website is ready, and it's out. So, onepagerules.com. Go check it out if you haven't checked it out yet. All of the, let's say, MVP things are done. So, you can already go on the website, you can get the games, you can check out the news, you can find some additional stuff. But of course, there are more things coming. Don't worry, this is not the end. Things always improve and grow at OPR, and there are some very exciting things coming on the website as well. But I wanted to like very quickly go to very quickly go through some of the key features of the new website. So, okay, number one. So, well, we have the homepage, right? So now there are more things on the homepage than there were before. So before, the website was kind of like split over like multiple sections, and we found that it was very hard for people to navigate. People didn't really find a news section, for example. Or they didn't really find the get started section. They were having a hard time finding the Patreon section, stuff like that. So we have so we kind of like consolidated things on the homepage, and then improved like all the other various pages. So the number one thing I would say is like really important and really cool for people finding our website, especially new people, is that now when you open the website, there's a big button in the middle that says like start here. And if you click on that button, you end up on the Get Started page. So on the Get Started page, there's a lot of info about like the games and the rules and whatever. But I think the most exciting thing about it is that right at the top, you can get 2 free starter sets, completely free. Completely free. It's kind of crazy. The starter sets are made for Grimdark Future and Firefight, and they're made for Age of Fantasy and Age of Fantasy Skirmish. And they come with 2 armies. They come with terrain. They come with tokens. They come with rulers. They come with they come with pre-made lists. They come with an introduction to a lore. They come with a 5-part tutorial mission mini campaign thing. They also come with a section that kind of lets you know, like, okay, like, once you get started here, like where to go from here. Yeah, and it's all completely free, and it comes for both 2D and 3D print. So if you have a 3D printer, knock yourself out, enjoy it. But if you have a 2D printer, or maybe if you want to just like share these sets with somebody else, you want to go to a local game store and just kind of like give them away. You don't have a 3D printer, you can print the 2D versions and just like, hey, give people the armies and be like, hey, come enjoy the game. So the Grim Dark Future set is Eternal Dynasty versus Robot Legions, which is a pretty cool matchup. And yeah, it features like some warriors, some ninja, the Royal Guard on the Eternal Dynasty side, and then on the Robot Legion side, you got some warriors, some flesh eaters, and also the Robot Guard, the Guardians, I think they're called. Yeah, really cool set. And again, all this stuff is for free. It's kind of crazy. And then we have the fantasy version of it. Well, yes, the fantasy version of it, which comes with 2 other armies. Here we're featuring the Mummified Undead versus the Saurians. On the Mummified Undead side, you got some warriors, some archers, and some mummies. And on the Saurian side, you got some warriors, some geckos, and some guardians, and or some guard, Saurian guard, Saurus, whatever. They're also some sort of guard. And yeah, these sets are completely free, 3D print and 2D print. And they're also designed really to like get you in the game and get you started. That's why we have the 5-part mini campaign tutorial thing. So we already spoke about like that. We're gonna have a sort of like program for people to like become some sort of like to give demos and stuff like that to help people basically create communities in their local area. And whilst that program is not ready yet to like show and give you stuff for that, you can basically already get started now, right? Like you can get these starter sets, you can print them, and you can just go to a local game store, and you can play with others, you can do demos, you can go to events with them, you can give them away anyway, they're free, right? um, so yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool everything that you can do with it. Yeah, very exciting stuff. And the website is really focused on. Yes, sure, the website has various points where you can kind of like go, find our Patreon and find our stores. But the website is really focused on getting you, um, really kind of showcasing that, like, hey, OPR to play OPR. You don't have to pay if you don't want to. Here's a free starter set. Here's some free minis. We have free rules, right? And we just want to show that. And I think these starter sets are really um, a good baseline point to show you that, hey, we care, and we give our things away. And well, to go with that, we also now have, so we had this a long time ago. We had a mailing list, and we brought it back. And just to give you more stuff, now when you join the mailing list, you get 2 more free minis. The idea for the mailing list is that at the end of each month, we're gonna kind of like send a sort of like news recap kind of situation, which is how it used to work as well. So if you've not really been paying attention to the news section or to the Discord announcements, or whatever it might be, you can just sign up to the newsletter, and then once a month, we'll let you know what the coolest things are, what the most important things are for that happened that month. But also, if we have any special things, right? It's as we keep growing, communication becomes in some ways more challenging, right? Because we have such a huge community, and the communities, yes, we have a big part of it on Patreon and a big part of it on Discord. But there's people that use Facebook, there's people that use just the website, there's people that use Reddit and whatnot. So the community gets kind of like split. And so, for instance, if we have a new big announcement, like imagine I don't know, imagine we start a crowdfunding campaign, right? The mailing list, for instance, would be a great way to let people know, like, hey, we have this new thing coming. Go check it out. Yeah, and kind of like help you navigate the breadth of OPR content a little better. Okay, what else we got? Oh, then we of course we have the game pages. Now with beautiful art. You can expect. People already asked me this, so let me answer this right now. Over the long term, you can expect us to continuously upgrade and improve the art. So you can expect the cover art to become better, the interior art to be better, the art on the website, the art on whatever in the games, on Patreon, and so on and so forth. So the art that you see here is kind of, well, I guess it's like a little preview of what's to come, so to say, and not what we're trying to do with the games. And then yeah, so the game pages are, we found that before the game pages they were fine, but people still had a little bit of a hard time navigating them. So we kind of try to make it like very simple. And well, now we just kind of like have this 1, 2, 3 system, right? It's like, hey, download the rules, build your army, and then start collecting. And then at the bottom you have a resource section where it's like, hey, if you just want to see like everything we got when it was updated last and whatever, just go there, download all the stuff. And yeah, and there's actually like an additional resource section on the website which has all the resources for all the games. So if you don't want to individually navigate like each game page and see like, oh, which one has an update or whatever, um, you can just go on the big resources page and just scroll there and see all the games, all the rules, everything that there is. And well, of course, free as always. Okay. What else we got? Oh yeah, so this is cool. So on the game pages, if you scroll down, we actually now have like a little section which introduces you a bit to like, well, what are the games? So in this case, for instance, Grimdark Future. What is the game about? And then the world of Grimdark Future. And so right now, this is a quite short section. It's just kind of like giving you a hint at what the world of Grimdark Future is like. But in the future of Grimdark Future, no, in the future of our website, we will actually add a proper lore section to this. So the idea, of course, this is still work in progress. I don't have it all done. But the idea here would be that like, hey, you see the section here, and it says like, hey, here's an intro to the world of Grim Dark Future. And then it's like, I don't know, there's a button or something like that, or I'm not sure how it would work. But you basically go like find out more, and then you go on a proper page where there's like lore for the games. You can see all the factions. You can open all the factions, see the lore for all the factions. Once we start releasing the short stories, you're gonna be able to find it in there. So imagine you're into Grimdark Future, you want to find out the lore of the Jackals. So you go here, you go to the Jackals icon, whatever, you click on them. The lore is there. All the short stories are linked there. Once we make the faction book, it would be linked there. Yeah, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be very cool. But yes, work in progress. And then what else we got? Okay, yes. Then on the homepage as well, we now have like a proper news section. Before we kind of had like this blog format that was like an infinite scroll. That was very long, whatever. It was kind of confusing. And now instead we're kind of um, instead of having one big blog post with 1,000 different things that we're talking about, we have individual posts about whatever the new thing is. So when there's a new patch, you're not going to have to go through a huge news post where there's 1,000 things to find a patch. There's going to be a post about the patch. Or when there's a new video that we sponsored, okay, here's a video. Or there's a new release, okay, here's a post about that, and so on and so forth. So you don't have to dig through huge articles anymore, which we think is a big improvement. And then of course here also you have the little comic section, which is very cool. And well, actually, let's talk a little bit about the comics. So before, the comics were kind of like just thrown in with the news. Again, they got kind of lost, and then people like they didn't really know where to find them and reference the other comics. So now on the top right of the news section, there's always the latest comic. And then if you click on there, well, you can go and find all the seasons of the comics. So here's an example of the series business page with all of the comics from season 1 and season 2. And then of course we also have like the very classic web comic kind of like situation where you can see the individual comics and you can kind of like go through each episode as you want. And as we continue making more comics, this section is going to expand, which is also very cool. Yeah. Then what else we got? Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is kind of like the last thing to really talk about. So, We have other sections that talk about different things. I mean, I recommend exploring the website. So, if you go through there on the top menu, you can find like, you can find the merch, or you can find a page about like miniatures and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, what's really cool is we now have a community section. Right now, this is, as I said, like this is like the MVP. So, this is a good page right now to find the Discord and to find the compatibility program, or to find the forum, or whatever it may be. This is the page to go and like kind of like find everything in one spot. And this is also one of the places that we're going to keep expanding. Where later, we're going to expand on the compatibility program. If we do have the full, recruitment, whatever, volunteers. It's not really volunteers program, but whatever, Vanguard program. This is kind of like where it would go. So this page is really going to expand. We also want to expand to like other well, we want to expand to new pages. So we would like to have a sort of like a team page where you can kind of like actually see all of the team. We would like to have a jobs page, right? There's a lot of people that are always asking us like, hey, how can I apply for a job? Where can I see what positions are currently open? So having a proper jobs page would be very nice, where people can go. Having a sort of like media page, because a press kit page, because we also get a lot of questions of people who are like, hey, like I want to write an article about OPR. Where can I find some pictures? Where can I find some logos? Where can I find, whatever. So having something like that would be nice. So yeah, the website is gonna keep expanding, and it's gonna be very cool. And yeah, I see someone in the chat ask, Vanguard program when? When it's ready. As always, when it's ready. Okay, what else we got here? Okay, so this is the last thing. So I know a lot of people have been asking us about like, hey, where do I find out about the compatibility program? Like, how can I find out other creators that are compatible with OPR? So when you go to the news section, you can actually see every article is like tagged with a type, and there is a type that is OPR compatibility. If you click on that tag, you can see all the partners. We're also adding a link to that in the community page, so it's easier to find. But yeah, if you want to check out all the partners, this is how you find it on the website. Okay, I think I think that's enough for the website. Let's go to okay. All right, this is one of the big ones. So Army Forge Studio. Let me drink some water to get ready for this. So, Army Forge Studio. This is a big one. So, what is Army Forge Studio? So, Army Forge Studio is the new name for the point calculator, what used to just be known as the point calculator, or what used to be known as the point calculator app. With the switch to the new website, we decided to consolidate a lot of our app things into one brand, which is the Army Forge brand, because there used to be a lot of confusion. People were going on multiple websites, they didn't know where to find what. So we kind of like condensed everything. Now you go on Army Forge. On Army Forge, you can find both the PDFs and the list builder. I know that people have been having a bit of a hard time finding the PDFs, so we're actually redoing the UI UX of Army Forge as well to make it easier for you to find the PDFs, and actually also like to include the lore better and stuff like that. So yeah, don't worry about that. We hear your concerns about finding the PDF, so we're finding a solution. Don't worry about that. And yeah, well, so as part of the Army Forge, since Army Forge is really the platform where you build your armies, we are creating another section of it for patrons, which is called the Army Forge Studio. And Army Forge Studio is where you go and you build your armies from scratch. Now, okay, there are a couple of things to go to here. I'm gonna give you like a little showcase of Army Forge Studio. But before we go into that, I want to clarify a couple of things, because I know we have delayed this system for a couple of times, and I've seen people start to spread rumors about why and what's happening and whatnot. And I would like to just clarify things so that you know I mean, I'm sure there's people that are always going to try to spread some false rumors, but I want to really clarify what is going on and why things are delayed. So, um, number one, uh, so Army Forge Studio is not delayed because we are making miniatures. So the production of the miniatures, the production of the games, the production of the concepts, of the illustrations, of the writing, whatever, is completely unrelated and separate from the production of the minis. Okay, so this is important to understand. We have a large company by now with a very rigid company structure. We have multiple teams. Various teams have their own leads. Everybody's acting independently. Okay, so just because we're making minis doesn't mean that Army Forge is delayed, right? So we have a dedicated team of Army Forge developers that are working on it on the daily. So please don't confuse the things. I feel like there is some uh some misinformation, also a little bit of resentment on the side of the people that have been waiting for Army Forge Studio, and so they kind of like blame the fact that, like, oh, they see that the miniatures keep coming out and they blame, like, oh, Army Forge Studio is delayed because people are focused on the minis, or like the company is not organized, or there is no structure or whatever. But this is completely false. This is nothing to do with what is happening with Army Forge and why it's delayed. So this is important to understand. We have a structured company. We have multiple teams. Everybody's split, and everybody's working on their things in parallel. So don't worry about minis affecting the release of Army Forge Studio. Um, Another thing that's important to understand is uh, we are not delaying Army Forge Studio because there are code problems. So some people say that, like, oh, we don't have a dev team, we don't have dedicated coders, or the code is all screwed up, or we don't know how to code, or whatever. We have some issues that whatever we didn't plan for in the code. No, the system you are currently, if you're playing OPR games, you are currently going to Army Forge and you are making your lists there. And that works perfectly fine. Why? Because the code is fine. This is not a code problem. So, well, truly, it is not a problem. So, what is happening with Army Forge Studio? Why is it delayed? Army Forge Studio is delayed because we keep adding new features. So, we have been running some tests with patrons, and we did like small test groups. And what we found is that, well, there are a lot of features that people want that we thought maybe they didn't need, and we decided that would be good for them to have at launch. So instead of launching with a half-assed, half-made, incomplete system, we want to give you all the features that you need to be able to build your armies and to do something proper. Um, Also, a big thing is that, so you have to understand that for like a year and a half, pretty much I've been the only one that has been using Army Forge Studio to build armies. So the system was very much geared with a super user like me in mind. Everything was just via like text boxes. Everything was very Wild West in a sense. And I know the system inside out, so it was very easy for me to use and make big armies with no issues. Once we started testing the system with players, well, it didn't work like that, because not everybody knows the system off by hand. Not everybody knows the games by heart. Not everybody knows how exactly should you type a weapon. So we have completely reworked the UI and UX to improve it, and that also takes time. So we've been gathering feedback, we've been improving, gathering more feedback, we've been improving, um, and yeah, with this we have basically, I mean, we have added a ton of things. So now we have added like a complete, so everything in the system now has a sort of builder. So it's super easy to use. You don't have to type any weird weapon combos. You just go in there. If you want to make a weapon, we added a new weapon builder. So you just select the amount of weapons, you select the amount of the range, you select the attacks, you select the special rules, boom, it's all done for you. You don't have to be there typing weapons and then, oh, I forgot to put a comma. We created a whole builder for upgrades. So if you want your upgrade list, you have like a nice builder. You select each section. Each section you get to select from a list of, like, well, what does this section do? Is it an upgrade one model with? Is it a replace the up to 3 weapons with? Is it super cool? Super nice builder. And takes work. That's why it takes time. We also have like a cool item builder. So like if if you're playing fantasy especially, and you want to create like a mount for your heroes, okay, you can actually very easily now you can create a mount. You can add the special rules from the mount. You can add the toughness of the mount. You can add whatever the attacks the mount has, and it all creates a nice little package. So reworking the UI has been a big thing, and it's been a huge improvement, and it's incredible, but it takes time. So it is what it is. Another thing is, and this took a long time as well, is we've decided to introduce an aliasing system. So what is an aliasing system? If you take a look at the rules in the games, so yes, there are a lot of rules. I think there are around like 170 unique rules in the game, but there are a lot of additional rules which are basically just re-themed and refluffed for specific armies. I'm sure you have seen plenty of armies that have the same special rule that is like, the hero and its unit get +1 attack and melee when charging, right? Something like that. And in one army, it's called War Chant. In another army, it's called Battle Eager. In another army, it's called whatever. And before, in the old system, each one of these was just an individual rule. And now we have completely revamped the system so that you have a base rule. Okay, so the base rule is the hero and its unit get +1 attack when charging. And then you alias that rule. So you select that rule, you click on aliasing, and then you give it your own theme. And so you get to take existing rules, retheme them to fit your army, and you don't have to worry about making up new rules. You don't have to worry about point costs. It's all automatically calculated. And actually, as part of this, we have spent a long time reworking all of the rules to be based off a formula. So before, there were a lot of rules because we were using the PDF point calculator. For simplicity's sake, there were a lot of rules that were just a flat cost. So I don't know, you had a rule, again, War Chant maybe was just a flat cost that was 20. But actually, there is a math. There's actually a thought behind, well, why does it cost 20, right? It's basically the cost of fear times, the hero plus its unit. And so it calculates all of that together. And well, that's what spits out the final number. And so we reworked all of the rules in the game, to be formula based, it was a big endeavor, but it's really cool because now if we make a change somewhere in the system, it automatically updates the whole system. This is going to make it not only easier for us to update the rules and improve them, but also for you when you alias those rules, everything's going to be smooth. I'm very excited, as you can see, because it is a great system. But again, it takes time to build. Other things that we have done. So we have added a spell builder. So before, you kind of just you created spells and you basically had to go to other books and kind of like find what spells were and then copy them. Very cumbersome. So now you have a very, very a very user-friendly system where it's just like you open the spell builder and you select like add spell. You select what type of spell you want. Is it an attack spell? Is it a buff spell? Is it a debuff spell? You select how difficult it is to cast it. And then you have a nice drop-down list where you can see all the effects from all the spells under that category, and you can just pick them, and it will automatically create that spell of that type for that level. And then you also get to refluff it. So you get to super easily make your own spell list, and themed around your things, and it's balanced, and it's valid, and it's great. So yes, so all of these things have taken time, that's also why it takes longer. But there are other important things. So first off, there are some moderation concerns. So when you have a system with user-generated content, you start going into concerns about moderation, right? Like, what if people type in something that's nasty? What if people upload an image that's bad? What if people, stuff like that? So we're looking into upgrading the moderation system and trying to like set something up to make things work. But, and this is the important one, we have another big concern, which is copyright and trademark infringement, right? So if we have a system that users use to make user-generated content, and they can type things, they might just copy paste existing material that is not theirs. So in order to protect us and ultimately you, we are currently working on a legal structure on some sort of like documents and whatever, to ensure that this system works well for us and for you, and it can provide protection both for you and for the copyright holders of their own things. We want to create a sort of like filtering system to help us out with the moderation of this. So this is a big thing. It's it's imperative that people understand that this is a big thing. Like as OPR grows as a company, we have to work to protect us and ultimately you from infringements, copyrights, trademarks, and all these sort of things. Um, so yes, that's also something that we're working on. We're already talking to some lawyers to make sure that we have everything right. We're working on some documents for it, but this also takes time. This is not something that happens overnight. So what is the current state of Army Forge then? So of the Army Forge studio. So right now we're doing a soft launch. So sorry. Yeah, we're doing a soft launch for people to be able to test it. So you can go in the system and you can like play around with it. But because of these concerns, and because this is basically just still a test period for the system, any army that you create is automatically deleted after 60 minutes. So you can go in there, you can test the system, you can have fun. You can create whatever unit you want to create for your games, right? Take a screenshot, write it down, whatever you need to get the point costs, everything's automatically calculated. But after 60 minutes, it's deleted. It's just gone. This is because of all these concerns that I've been talking about. Partner lists will be excluded from the 60 minutes timeout because, with the partners, we guarantee that they're using their own copywritten and trademarked signs and text and names and all that stuff. So, there's no concern there. And actually, we're hoping that, in the coming weeks, you will start seeing the first partner lists directly playable through Army Forge. Yeah, so that's the big and small about Army Forge Studio and its delays. I hope that this kind of like explains where we're at and why. We're doing our best. Please don't misunderstand. Everything we're doing is for you, right? We are not here wasting our time. Some people said like, oh, that we don't care and we're just slowing down and we kind of like let the project like pick up dust. Like that's not true at all. We're working on it every day. We have calls about it all the time. We have big chats about it with lots of people interacting and talking about it, and we're constantly fixing things. The people that have been helping us with the soft launch, they're providing feedback and we're applying it as fast as possible. We're adding new features. We're making it easier to use. We're doing our best to improve the system at all times. So, okay. I hope, I hope that this is good. By the way, when, of course, some people are going to ask, well, when is it going to be having a full release with big announcements and, removal of the 60 minutes deletion timer and so on? When it's ready. We don't know. Right now, pretty much, the full launch of this system is in the hands of the lawyers. So there are important legal things here, and legal teams that are involved that have to fully clarify these things and fully provide everything that we need in order to the launch. Again, it is our priority to protect ourselves and ultimately you. So we are not going to do a full launch until the whole legal side of this has been fully resolved. I understand that, of course, for some people this is very upsetting. And they wish that we would do the full launch and the big whatever, and everybody could immediately post their lists and so on and so forth. But this is there is no way around this. We are not going to risk the safety of our company and of your creations just because some people want to rush this. So I hope that this is clear. Now let's get to the fun part. Okay, so all right. Okay, I see a couple of questions here. I want to answer some here because there's some good questions. So somebody says like, couldn't the user data be stored in a cookie or something? No, we've looked into some sort of like ways to. Okay, so the system was not designed with the idea in mind that your stuff was going to be deleted, right? This is not something that we started with in mind. It's something that we added later, and so the whole system is made in such a way that we can't just store your stuff locally, and or rather, we could do that. We could store your stuff locally, or we could make it in such a way that maybe like you save the list only locally and it's not stored. But the system is not set out that way, and we would basically have to rebuild a lot of things to make it work. And ultimately, this is a temporary measure, and it's not meant to be a long-term measure. So it doesn't make sense right now to completely rebuild the system for something that's temporary. Of course, if for whatever reason we find that in the long term that is indeed the only way to solve this problem, of course you can expect us to do that and make sure that you can have the best system possible whilst we continue to ensure the safety of OPR. Another question: is it deleted 60 minutes after start or after finish? It's deleted 60 minutes after the last edit. I think that's how it goes. So yeah, that's the situation. All right. My God, I'm getting so excited. I'm getting hot here. I might have to take off my sweater. Okay. Oh yeah, you can see Adam in the chat. He's one of the devs, so if you see him say something, you can believe him. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna take this off. All right, cool. Okay. All right. Okay, so now let me actually give you a little bit of a tour of the Army Forge studio. So, all right, what you can see here is the home page that greets you when you get into the system. You can see this is actually the official one, so you can see all of the stuff. So you can see like at the top, you can basically, well, by the way, you might see a couple of admin things here that you won't have access to, but like on the top right, you see something called Calculon, but whatever, that doesn't matter for you. So what can you do here? You can search and filter all your books. So if you have a ton of books, you can just right there and find them. You can select the various game system images, and through that, you can see only the armies from that system that you made, and then you can also start a new army book. Here you can see a list of the books. It shows you like, is your book list public? How many units does it have? For which games is it active? You can copy lists, you can delete lists. So very simple interface, trying to make sure that you can get to the goodies easily. Then when you go to build a list, so you go, well, I skipped a step here, but basically you create a list and it kind of like gives you some stuff. You can put the name, whatever. And then this is how the army creation works. So on the left-hand side, you have all your units. On the top left, you can click on new unit, boom, create a new unit, and you can see it's like it is on the right. Again, everything is very simple. Select your quality, select your defense, select number of models, and on the top right, you can see the cost, and this is automatically calculated. You forget the PDFs, forget doing math manually, everything is automatic. It's incredible. Then you have your various weapons. If you click on add weapon, I don't think I have a picture of it. If you click on add weapon, well, basically just opens a little box. You can put the weapon name, select number, select range, select attack, select special rules, boom, put the weapons. Then at the bottom, you can add special rules. So in this case, this guy has what, like fearless, hero, tough. Again, very easy. You select them from a list, so you don't have to worry about knowing all the rules and stuff like that. And there's also a rules reference, but I'm going to show you later. And then at the bottom, you can see which upgrades it has access to. Because then if you go to the next tab, you can go... Oh, yeah, by the way, one thing that maybe it's not so visible, but whatever. On the top left, you can see that it says page 1. So as you scroll down, you will see like another tab for pages. So if you want your army to be split up over multiple pages, you can literally just drag and drop to another page. It's super easy. So whenever I work with very big armies for the games, so whenever I have a very big army and I see, okay, this is not going to fit on a page, you just drag and drop. Okay, this unit goes into page 2. This unit goes into page 3. Very easy to use, and it also automatically generates pages. Very cool. Okay, then the next tab is upgrades. So if you go to upgrades, you can create upgrade packages. So at the top left, you can see you click new upgrade package. You give it a name. You select which units get access to it, and then the upgrade packages are very simple. So you create well, you create. Oh, damn. There's a special name for it. Whatever. You create sections of the upgrade package. So, for instance, there you can see replace any razor claws, and that's also a builder. So you click on, add upgrade package section. No, add upgrade section. You click on there, and it has a little builder. So you select like, okay, what do I want? Is this a replace weapon thing? Is it an upgrade thing? And then it will give you more options. So it's like, is it an upgrade all? Is it an upgrade one? Is it an upgrade up to? Is it a replace? For instance, you will be able to select like replace all, and then it will automatically show you all the weapons that are on that unit. So very easy to use. If the unit has rifles and pistols and close combat weapons, you can go there and select like replace up to two, and then you select from the list pistols. Boom, and then it creates it. And then you can add upgrade options. And again, all with beautiful builders, all automatically calculated. On the right hand side, you can see the points, all automatically calculated, all automatically sorted. You don't have to worry about sorting your upgrade packages by point because it's all automated. It's all beautiful. It's really an incredible system. Even on the left side, where you can see like all the upgrade lists for the whole army, you don't even have to sort that. It will automatically sort it by priority. So it's a beautiful system. It's a beautiful system. Okay, then the next tab is special rules. Special rules, basically, so this is actually an automatically filled thing. So as you add special rules to your units and to your upgrades, they will be automatically listed here. So you can see, all the rules that are in your army. Here you can also search rules and see all the rules. So you can see the rules text and whatever. You can create custom rules. So you click on create custom rule. Boom, it allows you to create a rule. It allows you to put the text. It allows you to put a fixed value of what the rule is. Why a fixed value? Well, okay, let me say this already now. So the rules right now don't have a list validation. So this is something. Sorry. This is something that I want to add. That we want to add in the future, which is the basically a balanced validation system. So the idea is that the system, so we have specific general rules in place of how to make an army, but most importantly, how to make an army that is balanced within the way that we usually balance armies at OPR. And you already have access to that list of things. So when you build an army, we highly recommend that you follow those requirements, because once the balance system is in place, it will automatically parse out all those armies. So those armies will not be available in the list. You can still share them via link. And well, there will be like a nice little banner telling people like, hey, this is an army that is not following the OPR validation. So you can still build whatever you want. You can go crazy. It's just gonna be like a link sharing only, and it's gonna have like a little banner telling you that. And well, so creating custom rules is the same thing. So because we cannot validate that your custom rule is not unbalanced, you can create it. You can give it a fixed cost, but it's not going to pass the army validation rules. But anyway, but you can do it. Another really cool thing you can do is, you can see it here, the aliasing system. So you go, you type whatever rule you want. By the way, in the search bar, you can also type maybe you don't know the name of a rule. You want a rule that gives a unit regeneration, but you don't know the name of a rule. Don't worry. You type regeneration. It will show you all the rules that are either called regeneration or that have regeneration in their special rules. Rules. Yes. So very easy to find. And then there's like a little button. You select the rule. There's a little button you click, and it says create alias. And boom, this is what it looks like. You type in what you want it to be called. And then it will say, what is an alias of. And then you've rethemed a rule to fit your army. It's very cool, very easy to use. What else we got? The spell builder. So I was talking about this before. So this is how the spell builder works. You can see on the left hand side all the available spells. All the spells for this particular list. On the top, you can add spells. On the right, you can choose the difficulty of the spell. You can choose the spell type, and then there you can see the spell. You can choose a spell from the list. So, for instance, here it's an anti-defense attack spell, and you select that, and then it tells you like, hey, what is it? Target enemy unit within 6 inches takes 3 hits with AP2. And if you now were to click on difficulty 2, it would automatically update it to be a difficulty 2 spell version, a difficulty 2 version of that spell, or if you click on 3, a difficulty 3 version. So super cool, super easy to use. There's a couple more tabs here. There's a flavor tab where you get to like write your little story, and there's a publish tab where basically select like, can people see my army book or not? But whatever, we don't really talk about those right now. And then, okay, this is very cool. So you're also going to have access to this section. So here you are going to be able to, you have a browser where you can browse, just like you can from the army book. It's the same system. You can browse all of the rules. Again, just type in what you want. There's different sections, so you can see like common rules, base rules, aliases, other rules. You can type in whatever you want, and you can find whatever you want. And then on the right side, instead of having the point calculator PDF where you had to kind of like go and try to find army and whatever, and then it didn't have the rules, whatever. Here it will show you the formula. So if you want to know, well, how does this special rule work? It's shown right here. Again, super intuitive system, super cool system. Very cool. Okay, and then what else we got? Yeah, in this section also we have two other tabs which are very important. We have the point calculation tab. So just like in the old PDF, we actually explained, okay, well, sure, we show you the math, but it's like, well, how does the math actually interact? So you have a whole page where it explains like, okay, how is quality calculated? How is defense calculated? How is toughness calculated? How do these things interact to create your unit, and so on and so forth. Which is very cool. So it's all here. Don't worry. Things are not just lost. The PDFs are being translated to here. And then the next thing is, well, I suppose this is the last thing, is the balance guidelines. So if you go on this tab, we kind of explain everything you need to know about like army creation, like our recommendations for like, well, how do you design a cool army? How do you theme an army? What are our recommendations for what sort of units it should have? How should you build an army? How do you make sure that it's balanced? And it also contains, of course, those rules of like, hey, this is how we balance armies on OPR side, so that you can be part of the balance validation. So yeah, very cool. Here, actually, important thing, we're talking about skirmification. Let me tell you about this. So this is how powerful this system is. You create your army for Age of Fantasy, and it will automatically, my god, this system, it will automatically create a version of the army for Age of Fantasy Skirmish. You don't have to touch anything. When you create an army, it's created automatically for all the games. So you create your beautiful Age of Fantasy army, it creates a skirmish version of it. Here in this section, we'll also explain exactly how it creates it. So it will show you like, hey, units of 10 become units of 1 or whatever. How, it removes units with toughness 12 or more. Units, whatever. And also, it automatically, again, the power of the system, it automatically rewords your rules to even more. Well, it rewords your rules to work with skirmish, right? So for those of you that play the skirmish games, if a rule before said like, hey, the hero and its unit get +1 attack and melee, in skirmish, it's like the hero and all friendly units that activate within 12 inches get blah, blah, blah. Automatically done. You don't have to retype it. The system knows it. You don't have to retype it. It also, my god, it also automatically changes the namings of things. So like if before you had a unit that was a unit of 10 and they had rifles, and now it's a unit of 1, it will change rifles to rifle. It has a pluralization system, guys. Incredible. Yeah. So yes, I'm very, very excited. It's very cool. Yeah, and I'm excited for the full launch. Like I said, we are pending legal to be able to go ahead with it, so we need your patience. But I hope you're as excited about it as I am. Okay, let me quickly go through some questions just so that I can clarify things that maybe multiple people have questions about. Will this be one builder for AOF and Grimdark Future? So actually, because all the core 5 games run on the same engine, it's one builder for all of it. So theoretically, you can create an army for AOF and then just select that it's available for Grimdark Future. You can make an army available for all the system. So, if you want I don't know, if you want to create a dwarf army that is valid for both Age of Fantasy and Grimdark Future and Skirmish and Regiments and Firefight, blah, blah, just select it there, boom, automated. Okay, somebody says, does that work with custom special rules? I assume we're talking about skirmifications. Yes, skirmification basically just reads the rule, and if the rules follows the specific pattern, then it skirmifies it. Will this support custom abilities or manually tweaking costs? So right now, all you can do is you can create a custom rule with a fixed cost. That's it. And that will not follow balance validation. In the future, we would love to, but no idea when this would happen. We would love to make a rules builder, a special rules builder, where just like the weapons builder or whatever, you kind of get to select like, hey, I don't know, what type of rule is this? Okay, this is a hero aura style rule. Okay, so then it's like, I don't know, you would select like the hero and then you select like its unit, or you get to select like 1 unit or 5 units, and then within X amount do blah blah blah. And so it would allow you to like select all these parameters, and then based on that it will generate a formula for you. That's kind of like what we want. Okay, cool. Does it also auto-nominate a GF unit to one of those cheap 3? Yes, it automatically skirmifies it all. Okay. Cool. So I think I've answered the more pressing questions here. All right. I think this is it about Army Forge. God, we're almost an hour into the thing. Yeah, like I said, this is going to be a slightly longer one. All right. Let's go. 3rd edition. I find it very what a coincidence it is that every time OPR is about to do certain things, other companies seem to be doing the same things. I have to say, this has happened to us so many times. It is kind of crazy. I'm not saying that other companies are doing this on purpose, but the coincidence is striking. So, well, V2.50 has been around for about a year and a half-ish. As the name implies, V2.50 is the number between V2 and V3. So, as we move out of V2.50, we're moving into V3. So, 3rd edition is coming. 3rd edition. Incredible that I even get to announce this because it's been so long. Okay, first off, let me clarify something real quick. So, what's in a name, right? Why are we moving to 3rd edition? So, there are 2 things here. Number 1, there are a lot of changes that are coming. There are a lot of changes that are coming that are big enough and significant enough that we feel it's worth to call this a 3rd edition because the game is changing significantly. Well, it's still the same familiar game, but a lot of things are changing at the same time. But on the other hand, also because the whole switch from V2.16 to V2.50 to whatever has been very confusing for people, and rightfully so. I'm not blaming anyone except for me. Using the name V2.50 was was kind of dumb. I did not expect it to go this way, but it caused a lot of confusion, especially the fact that as long as we had still the old website, you could go on Google Drive, and then you could have a different version of the army lists, and then somebody was playing with an army list that it was like V2.15, and then somebody had a V2.50, and now people were like arguing like which is the correct one, whatever. So in this way, the idea is that as we come out of the V2.5, V2.50 beta, boom, we go into 3rd edition, and so it's clear V3.0. Actually, also thing there. So to kind of make sure that things are a little clearer, we're probably going to change the name the way that we do the versioning and the version numbers. So truly, what matters, especially once we have like Army Forge, it's the only place where you get things and the website and whatever, is when when updates are made to the rules. So whilst we will continue to have version numbers, and maybe we're going to have two version numbers that we display somewhere at the bottom of the rules. So basically, it's like what is the game number and what is the engine number. Really, the number that we're going to have at the top that really matters is we're going to have a date. So instead of you having to go through and be like, oh, like which version am I on? Is it V? You know, am I downloading the latest version? Well, it will have the date, and then you will know. Okay, like the most recent version is the one with the newest date. So that's currently our idea on how to kind of like clarify things, because there has been a lot of confusion with the version numbers. Okay, what is the idea with third edition? So I actually am going to bust out a document on my side, which unfortunately you will not be able to see, where I will where I will kind of like take you through a couple of the things that are happening in third edition. So okay, so one thing that's important, yeah, like so we're going to change, like instead of versioning, we're going to show like dates and whatever. That's important. Another thing is like we're probably going to change the names of a couple of books into something else, and we're going to move some things around because things got a little bit confusing. So a lot of people are unsure, like what's the basic rule book versus the core rules versus the full rule book, and so on. And truly, you know, it's kind of funny because we actually used to have a different naming of things before, which is what we're reverting to, that caused no confusion, and then we decided to change the naming. Gonna be honest, I don't even remember why. So what are we gonna have? We're gonna have the core rules, right? The ones you know and love. So the core rules, one page. Then we're going to have what is currently called the basic rulebook is going to rename back to beginner's guide. So the beginner's guide is the book that kind of explains everything really thoroughly for beginners. Like, hey, here is how you roll dice. Here is how you how you move a model. Here is how a reroll is done. Here is how you measure things, right? That's the beginner's guide. Then what is currently known as the full rulebook is going to be renamed, probably, by the way, these names of course are pending, probably is going to be renamed to the advanced rulebook. So, or maybe the modular rulebook. We're seeing there. But basically the idea is like, hey, this rulebook is not about the rules, so to say. It's about all the advanced things, right? It's about the extra stuff that you get, because the beginner's guide is free, right? So that's important to know. Somebody asked when is the date when it's done, as you can expect. Yeah, so renaming a couple of things and also shifting a couple of things around. So I would like to, by the way, so shifting a couple things around. So some of the things that are currently in the so-called competitive rules are going to be moved as clarifications into the core rules, and some of them are going to be added as optional additional rules. And the current competitive rules are going to basically be changed and just serve as a sort of like a tournament guide. So it's like, hey, it's only going to have everything you need to know to like launch, to prepare, run, and whatever tournaments. Um, but yes, so that's kind of like how the separation will be. So core rules, beginner's guide, and the advanced rulebook. Now, I'm going to look at my beautiful work in progress file, and I'm going to just take you through all the changes that are happening so that you kind of know what to expect. So, what are the changes that are coming, and how amazing are they going to be? It's going to be really cool. We're very excited about it. Of course, by the way, everything is work in progress. Some things might change, some things might not happen, and so on and so forth. But you know, this is the overall plan. Oh, why is this not moving? Oh Lord. 1 second. Oh, okay, this works. Okay. Okay. Somebody says share screen. I cannot share the screen for this. Okay. So, number one, I mean, a lot of these things are small changes or small just amendments or additional suggestions. Basically, it's like, you know, I'm on Discord every day seeing what people talk about, and there's a lot of questions that we get every day, and it's just like, we can just clarify these things in the rule book. So let's just clarify these things in the rule book. So part of the taking things from the competitive rules or from the FAQ and just moving them here is all about that, right? It's about clarifying things. So number one, we're going to clarify already in the core rules that, hey, yes, the game is usually played on a 6x4 surface, but you can play on a smaller surface. All that really matters, for those that didn't know, by the way, is that the deployment zones are 24 inches apart. If you play on a smaller table, it doesn't matter. If the deployment zones are 24 inches apart, the game is going to function. Another thing is, so the games currently recommend a starting size of 750 points, but a lot of people ask, like, okay, this is the recommended starting size, but what's the recommended size for a full game? So now they actually tell you. So a recommended size of the battle games is, so a starter size is 750, a recommended size is 2000. For the skirmish games, we're actually slightly changing it, where the starter size is changing to 200 and the recommended size is changing to 300. Well, it's the full size is 300, whatever. With these changes, actually, also like the campaigns are slightly changing. So, but whatever. Maybe we'll get into that later. So yes, other things that are. Oh, what is happening here? Whoops, sorry, I have the wrong document open. Okay, so having these things clarified in the core rules, very cool. Another thing, so optionally, please remember, optionally, okay? We are adding optionally force organization suggestions. These are basically lifted from the current competitive rules. So it basically just tells you, like, hey, if you want to kind of like have a forced organization, optionally, it's up to you. You don't have to. Here's what it is. I think for the big games, it's like one hero per 500 units per 500 points in your army. You can't take more than 3 copies of the same unit per X amount of points. You can't take units that are bigger than 35% of the army. It also provides like a nice examples, like, hey, if you're playing 2,000 points, this is what this means. So you don't have to like calculate in your head. And again, all optional, but a nice suggestion. This is a question we get every day. It's like, oh, how do I build my army? What can I have in my army? We explain it here. Combined units, clarifying that you can only combine multi-model units, right? So before we didn't clarify that, so you could have 2 tanks combined into a single unit. That was never the intention. So we're clarifying multi-model units. Another thing, so weapon units with multiple weapons, with multiple weapon types before could shoot at 1,000 targets. In the competitive rules, we had restricted this to 2 targets. So we're doing this here as well, just to kind of like tighten the game a bit, So instead of having 1 unit that activates and kills the entire enemy army, okay, it can target up to 2 units. Again, small clarifications. Other things that are slightly changing. So yes, so the unit coherency is slightly changing. Right now, it's 2 inches between models and 6 inches between the furthest models, and that is changing to be 1 inch between models and 9 inches between the furthest models. This way, we kind of like have tighter groups. Yes, we have tighter groups that are more easy to manage, but also we have a wide enough total range so that units with like, well, very large units can come together better. It can stay within coherency better, because one of the problems we had was, especially with armies like orcs, where it's like, hey, I have orcs and I have a unit of 20 models on 32 millimeter basis, and yes, if they are perfectly in a square, they can fit the 6-inch requirement. But if they're in a building and they're kind of around, like, they would never manage. So just clarifying, again, this is a question we get on Discord, just clarifying what it is. Here is a big one. So we're going to test it out. We've been testing it out for about a year. People have been very happy about it. So cover is changing from -1 to hit to +1 defense. What does this mean? It means what it says. So, but what does it really affect? The effect is, right now we have a big problem that happens all the time, which is, people are playing HDF or playing whatever other armies that are like a 5-up quality, and as soon as they're fighting someone that is in cover, forget it. They're hitting on 6s. It's impossible to do. So by doing this change, you still hit on your 5s, which makes them much better. And the enemy, of course, gets +1 defense. And the cool thing about this, about the enemy getting +1 defense, is, well, +1 defense can be countered by AP. So now we actually have a bit of a counter for cover that is not just melee. So, your HDF maybe, kind of sucks a little bit against the Battle Brother. And the Battle Brother in cover, maybe it's hard to hit. But if you now take like a plasma rifle, okay, cool. That AP4 now actually can be really good against like a Battle Brother in cover and stuff like that. So, yeah, we have been testing this one for a long time, and we have only got positive feedback. And yeah, this is definitely going to take some getting used to. I think it's one of those rules that really is going to make you feel a bit of the difference between second edition and third edition. But yeah, once you're in there, it's really cool. Other changes. So we are okay. Other clarifications coming from comp. Um, Other clarifications coming from comp that are coming to core. We're clarifying that ambushing units that deploy in the last round can't seize or contest objectives, right? Because one of the main non-comp strategies that we saw that people complain about a lot is like, hey, you play a super cool match, and then somebody just keeps a unit in reserves, and then they just ambush it on the end of the match, and everything that happened in the match doesn't matter because, well, now they just deployed these units on objectives and they win the game. So by removing this thing, it's improved. Other things that are changing, or other clarifications that we're including from comp to here, we're including the clarifications that hits from deadly must always be resolved first, right? We had a problem where before people were resolving them last, and so that way they could kind of like get a little bit of advantage. So hits from deadly are resolved first. What else is changing? The fear rule is changing to a fear X rule, so that's going to allow us to have a little bit more control over scaling of fear, and this will actually also change how fear is handled for how command groups are handled in fantasy. I'm not sure if this is going to be a permanent change. This we might overhaul command groups further in the future, depending on some things, whatever. But the change will be that like the sergeant, the standard, and the musician each give fear 1, and so that way, if you get the full command group, you have fear 3. Very easy, very cool. Fearless is changing. Instead of giving you +1 to your morale test, it's now that when you fail a morale test, you roll a die, and on a 4-up, you pass it instead. This allows us, well, first off, Fearless before was kind of like a meh ability, whereas now it's going to be much stronger. But especially, it allows us to put Fearless on units with quality 4-up or even quality 5-up, and actually have it have an effect. Other things that are happening then. Hero. So again, clarifying things from comp to moving comp clarifications to core. We heroes with more than tough 6 cannot be deployed as part of units. You can only have 1 hero per unit. Heroes cannot join units with only 1 model. Very simple clarifications so that we stop people having like a wizard hero join a titan, right? That's not how it's meant to work. Or have a titan hero join a unit of mooks to kind of like protect them. So that's changing. Impact is changing. This is a big thing from sorry, impact is changing. This is a big change from, well, it's kind of the same but slightly different, and different enough that it will make a difference for fantasy, where impact right now is kind of dominating the game. So impact is changing from, instead of being X automatic hits, it becomes X attacks that hit on 2+ when charging. So why does this matter? Well, number one, they are on 2-ups. So, there is a chance that you roll a 1. So it's not automatic like, hey, I charge with my 10 guys and they all have impact and it's 10 automatic hits, right? You roll 10 dice, maybe you're going to miss a couple of them. Okay, cool. Kind of like trying to find a balance there compared to all the other weapons, because they're the only thing that right now automatically hits. So, not good. Another thing is they are now attacks, right? So, if you are fatigued, you only hit on 6-up. So, one of the problems we had before is that you had a cavalry unit, it would be charged, right? Which should be really kind of like a death sentence for a cavalry unit, but like it would be charged, it would kind of survive, and then it would be fatigued, it would strike back, right? Be fatigued, and then it would charge, and suddenly it has like all these full impact hits, and it would wipe the other unit out, which is definitely not how it's intended to be. So they return to attacks. So they suffer from fatigue just like everything else. Basically, impact is going to be more in line with other types of attacks. With this change to impact for fantasy, this is very important. We're also changing a little bit how impact interacts with lances, right? This is a very big thing for fantasy. So another problem that we have is that right now there is way too much impact in fantasy, and you can get way too many automatic impact hits. So impact is going to become, well, it's going to be just used as a unit rule. It's not going to be a weapon rule anymore. And lances are going to change. They're going to have a new special rule that we're introducing, which is called lance. And the lance special rule basically gives you AP2 to that weapon when charging. So if you have a lance, when you charge, it becomes stronger. So a cavalry unit that before would maybe deal, if you had 5 cavalry, would deal 10 impact hits, now deals 5 impact hits, and its regular attacks also have AP2. So it's still pretty strong, but it's not absolutely overwhelming. Another thing that's changing, which caused a lot of confusion before, is phalanx. So phalanx is getting streamlined the heck down. So yeah, phalanx was one of the huge confusing things. So phalanx, very simple now. When you are charged, you strike first, and you get +1 to hit. That's it. No more dangerous terrain tests. No more counting the amount of, how many models do I have with phalanx? How many models are charging? What's the. No, done. You get charged. Okay, you strike first and you get +1 to hit. That's it. Very simple, very straightforward. Of course, it changes the power level of things, right? But, for the better. Another thing that's changing that had caused a lot of confusion is poison. So poison right now feels a bit weird. It's a poison attack, and then if you roll a 6, it kind of like explodes into like 3 additional hits or 2 additional hits. So it explodes almost like it explodes into a blast 3 essentially, which felt weird. So we're changing that. Very simple now. Every poison attack that you block on a roll of 6, you have to re-roll. Very simple. So you take hits from poison, roll your blocks. Every 6, you have to re-roll it. And very simple. And this also actually allows us to scale the power of poison better with what it's actually meant to do, which is it's meant to be very strong against, defense 6 up, defense 5 up, even defense 4 up units, right? But it's not meant to be very strong against defense 2 up and defense 3 up units. So this way, it actually shifts the balance back towards where it's meant to be. So that's phalanx. Okay, introduction of another new rule, reliable. Reliable. What is that? So in Grimdark Future, generally in the games, one problem that we have found is that right now, in general, in a game like this, attack number trumps anything, right? You can have cool special rules, you can have AP, you can have rending, you can have poison, you can have whatever. But if you just have a weapon that has 6 attacks, it's just gonna be better because you roll a ton of dice. What has 6 attacks? Flamers. So we're changing flamers, right? This is gonna be a pretty hefty change for a Grimdark Future, but a very needed one. So flamers are gonna stop being A6. So right now they're 12-inch A6. This is changing. Instead, flamers are going to be 12 inches, A1, blast 3. So, that flamers don't get to A6 on flamers basically means that they can fry a tank, which is not the intended use of a flamer. So blast 3 basically means okay, it's better against multi-model units. It ignores cover, which feels very thematic with flamers, but also they're going to get the reliable keyword. What is reliable? Reliable is that you attack at quality 2 up. So to kind of showcase or simulate or whatever, show that the weapon, it's a flamer, it's just saturating an area with fire. And you don't need to roll a 5 up to hit. You always, you shoot at quality 2 up. So yeah, basically what happens to flamers. Instead of A6, they become blast 3 reliable. So you hit on 2 up and they're blast 3. Changes completely the balance of the flamers. Lowers the amount of crazy attacks that some units can get. Before, there were some units which were that had twin or quad heavy flamers. So we're talking about like what 24 attacks. They're not meant to be that strong. So reduces the attack number, but with blast, with reliable, fills its role better. Okay, cool. What else we got? Ba-ba-ba-ba-bam. Okay, most of these rules are staying the same. Oh, stealth is changing very slightly. And stealth. Oh, by the way, sorry. One thing about reliable. So my plan is also that. Um, so one of the things that we get a lot of complaints about in skirmish, or rather in firefight, is that well, sniper rifles are very overcosted because they shoot a quality 2 up, and they allow you to pick a model from the unit to kill, which is why they're so expensive. But in firefight, that makes no sense. So one of the things that I want to do is that I want to skirmify sniper rifles to have reliable. So they hit on 2 up, very cool. They get a bit cheaper, but they don't have that whole thing of like picking a unit, which anyway didn't matter. Stealth is changing very slightly. The idea is so it stays enemies get -1 to hit rolls, but only from over 12 inches away. So if you have the enemy right in the face, your stealth doesn't help. Cool. Any other thing that changes? So no, I mean generally there's just like clarifications in the core rules. Oh yeah, there's a clarification about tough. So that tough basically is tough basically. Well, there's gonna be some there's some limits to toughness, right? Instead of you can only carry units with up to tough 3. Yeah, you can carry and they take different spaces, whatever. It's the same stuff that should come. It's basically to avoid you transporting a transport in a transport, right? That's a problem that we had before. So yes, that's how the solution is. Okay, but now, okay, the last change, which is a big one, is we are changing how spell casting works. So, we got a lot of complaints about how spell casting works. It's a little bit underwhelming. It's a little bit basic. It's not necessarily that fun. So, spell casting is changing. How is it changing? So, all right. So at the beginning of each round, each caster, so you have the regular casting number, right? So you have a psychic 1, a psychic 2, a psychic 3. Oh yeah, sorry, and the numbers are changing. So it goes from psychic 1 to psychic 4, like back in first edition. For those that remember first edition, um, the power level is so regular psychics and wizards are around level 2. If you have those like special wizards that are like in a unit, they go down to level 1. If you have stronger wizards for factions that have, generally speaking, stronger wizards, they go to level 3, which is a big request we get all the time. And legendary casters like, whatever, demons, great avatars, whatever, they become 4. Okay, so at the beginning of each round, each caster gets as many tokens as their level, right? So regular psychic would get 2 spell tokens, okay? Each caster can accumulate spell tokens throughout multiple rounds, so you can keep stacking little tokens if you want, up to a maximum of 6 tokens per caster. Then, kind of similar to how it's now, at any point of your turn before attacking, you can spend your tokens to cast a spell. So the spells, instead of having 4 up, 5 up, and 6 up difficulty, they're now going to cost 1, 2, or 3 tokens. So you select a spell, you spend as many tokens as the spell, and then you roll a die, and on a 4 up, the spell is cast. Okay? Now, here is the cool thing. So, and this works as normal. Here's the cool thing. You can spend your tokens to modify that roll by +1, or +2, or +3. So, what you can do now as a wizard is, for example, you can save up a couple of tokens, and then on the second round or the third round, you can now spend 3 tokens to cast a super powerful spell, and then you can keep spending more tokens to make it easier to cast. So same as now. So if you want to cast a spell, if a regular psychic wants to cast a spell at 3 up, you can do it. You spend 2 tokens, right? Oh well, if you want to cast a level 1 spell at 3 up, you spend 1 token to cast the spell, and you spend 1 token to get a +1 to your roll. Very easy. This also changes how the interaction between different casters works. So before it was like this. Before it was like any wizard within 18 inches can like roll against your roll, blah blah blah. Forget that. Now it's easier. Enemy wizards and friendly wizards, any wizards really, within 18 inches can spend their tokens to further modify your roll. And you have to spend it at the same time. So imagine, like, okay, I have my Psychic 2, and you have your Psychic 2 within 18 inches. And I will say, like, okay, I'm going to cast this level 1 spell. And then I'm going to, like, I don't know, hidden in my hand, whatever. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to cast this spell. And then your opponent says, like, okay, I'm going to do something against it. I'm going to spend points against it. Then you both reveal at the same time. Okay, I spent 2, which means it would cast on 3 up. You spent 2 as well, which means I get -2. Okay, the spell goes off at 5 up. So this allows you to have more interaction between wizards and psychics and whatever. And also friendly psychics can help each other. So you can have like a little gang of psychics that go around together and like help each other cast better. You can have enemies, make it harder to cast and stuff like that. More interaction, more fun. And again, a very simple system, right? You just have your tokens, you select your spells, you either spend yours to make it better, or the enemy spends theirs to make it worse. Boom, you cast a spell, and that's it. Oh, and this also allows you to cast multiple spells per round, which is also very cool. Cool. So this is the big changes overall. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going to be changed and or covered in the basic rulebook. But let me quickly take a look at chat to see what is up and if there's anything here that matters. Fear stacking sounds great. Fearless changes. Morale passed on 4 up. People crying about cavalry. I understand. It's going to be a bit of a change. Does failing still cancel the charge bonuses? No. That was a big point of confusion. No, it's just you strike first and you get +1 to hit. Even +1 if fatigue on phalanx. No, don't forget. Fatigue is you always hit on natural 6s, on unmodified 6s. Somebody mentioned flamers are crap. You're gonna see. Grav cannons. Grav cannons are actually changing. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is a big one that I forgot. Sorry, rending is changing. So right now, rending is basically you on a 6 up, you ignore regen and you get AP4. This is changing. Rending now works like this. A weapon with rending, so hits from a weapon with rending, always give -1 to regen rolls. So you don't ignore regen, but you make regen worse. And then on a 6, they get AP4. This will mean also that a lot of rending weapons are going to be adapted. So right now, a lot of rending weapons, the way that they work is they have tons of attacks, so that you kind of have a better chance at fishing for 6s. With this change, they're going to be a little bit lower. And yeah, somebody mentioned the gravity cannon. So the gravity cannon is actually going to go back a little bit to what it was before. So it was changed to a blast weapon, but instead it's going to go to A4. So I think the new grav cannon is going to be 24 inches, A4, rending. I think that's how it goes. Does the new stealth give +1 to defense in melee? What? No. No. The stealth is -1 to hit when attacked from over 12 inches away. Okay, cool. What else did I want to talk about? Well, the basic rulebooks are going to be updated, of course, with reflecting all these changes. One big thing that I would like to do with the new basic rulebooks is I want to really take some time to further clarify line of sight. So line of sight is another big point of contention, another big point where people are very confused and they're not sure what to do. And so ideally, I think what we're going to do is we're going to provide, essentially, we're going to provide three levels of line of sight that you can use. So we're going to suggest a very basic system, and then we're going to say, like, hey, if you want something a little bit more precise, here are 2 additional systems. So The first system that we suggest, which is honestly what most people use anyway, is basically true line of sight, right? So, go down to your model's eye level, see if your model could see the enemy. If they can see them. If they can't, they don't have line of sight. Very easy. This is the basic suggestion. Honestly, it's how most people play anyway. The next two suggestions are going to be more interesting. Well, for me at least. So the next suggestion is a top-down system, which is actually how the game works right now. So basically, it's a 2D plane, and you assign height values to models and terrain. Of course, we're going to provide a couple of suggestions, like, okay, barricades should be this height and buildings should be this height, whatever. And so basically, then when you want to draw a line of sight, you draw the line, and then like, okay, if this model is this height and this model is this height, can it see over this cover? Yes or no? Boom. Very easy. And the system also takes into account elevation, right? So if you have elevation, it will be added to that number, and so on and so forth. The third one that we're going to suggest, but again, all of these are optional. It's totally up to you. And that's the motto of OPR, right? Always providing options, always providing modularity. The third one is volumetric line of sight, which basically just means that you assign a specific height to each one of your models, and then the models are basically like a cylinder extending at that height from the base of your model. And then you're basically drawing line of sight from cylinder to cylinder. This is for people that want a let's say more more precise version of true line of sight. And the top down is for people that prefer that type of stuff. So lots of clarification coming, lots of things coming. I'm gonna be honest, there's a small thing about third edition which makes me a little bit sad, which is that I had hoped that by the time we did third edition, we had a art pipeline that was strong enough where we could give all new cover art, all new interior art, all new layouts, new fonts, new everything. But that's still going to take a while, and I'm going to be honest, I don't want to delay the release of the game more just because of the art. I don't think seeing the prognosis of how long things are going to take, I don't think that makes sense, and I don't want to deprive you guys of the awesomeness of third edition without just because of the art. Now, of course, people ask when is third edition coming out? When it's ready, I hope in a couple of months. I have no idea when. So I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea when. So you definitely will not have an idea when either. So it is what it is. Okay, let me quickly go through my list to see if there's anything else that maybe that matters. Okay, I'm gonna throw out some random things that might be interesting for you guys. I don't really want to discuss them too much, just throwing them out there. So one thing, we're thinking of changing how aircraft works. So we want to make aircraft a little bit more reliable, a little bit more predictable. We feel that right now aircraft is a little bit in a weird spot. So trying to make it a little bit more predictable could maybe help kind of like dodge it and make it more work within the context of the small table size. Another thing that we want to change is this is especially for Grimdark Future. So right now you have lots of lists where you have units that can take sergeants, and the sergeant's upgrade list is basically a copy of the hero upgrade list, which is an absolute mess because now you have like a Battle Brothers unit, but like one model can take a shield, and then it can be upgraded with a ton of stuff that makes it really unbalanced. So, and then people are very confused. So we're going to change that, and so basically like squad sergeants are going to have their own upgrade list, which is a smaller upgrade list that is more balanced. So, a typical squad sergeant might be able to upgrade, I don't know, they can upgrade their pistol to a shred pistol or to a plasma pistol, and they can maybe upgrade their close combat weapon to an energy sword or an energy fist, right? Something like that. So basically like streamlining, and this will actually allow us to make the weapons of the heroes better, because right now they're trying to strive this balance between like what can be used by a unit and what can be used by a hero. And so my idea there would be like that, it's kind of weird right now that you have some tough 3 heroes that only have like 1 attack, and I would like to fix that. This would extend a little bit to AOF. We might slightly change the balance of attacks on heroes, because right now I think tough 3 heroes can have up to 6 attacks with dual hand weapons, which feels a bit wrong. So that's going to be toned down. Oh yeah, some weapons which right now have sniper but are not really meant to be sniper might be changed to reliable. So like, some units have like some sort of like 24-inch precision rifles. They're just like they're meant to be good, but they're not meant to be sniping. So they might change to reliable. Um, Let me see what else I would like to change or talk about. Um, mm, 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 Oh yeah, I would like to add some sort of like I don't know if a really a flow chart, but like a step by step thing in the basic rulebook that kind of like shows like, hey, here is how the full turn structure works in like one page, and you can like kind of like get a grasp of it as a whole. Um, Different line of sight options. I might extend the recommended base sizes. There's a lot of questions always about the recommended base sizes. I might slightly change that. Um, Shield wall. Okay, so this is a thing that people have been asking about a lot. So shield wall is changing again. So how is shield wall changing? So this is for Grimdark Future. So shield wall number 1, I think it's going to be renamed to a rule called protected. And what does protected do? Protected gives you +1 defense against non-magic attacks. Very simple. So if you have a shield, if your ogres, whatever, if your I don't know, if your battle brothers, whatever, have a shield, they get +1 defense against non-spell attacks. Very easy, very simple. No more weird like AP -1, but then it doesn't work. Now, on units that have defense 2 up, yes, on units that have defense 2 up, their shield wall is going to give them is going to give -1 AP. It is what it is. This is kind of like how we're trying to find a way to make it balanced. Other things that matter. Oh yeah, and for fantasy, the ones that have shield wall. Well, I think the name will stay shield wall. Well, it will be changed to this +1 defense against non-spell attacks rule. There has been a lot of contention about the shield wall change. Okay, let me slightly touch upon that. So, one of the things that we kind of realize is that -1 to hit abilities are a bit too prevalent across the board and are kind of like really screw with the game, especially with like lower quality armies. And so we're trying to tone that down, just like we're trying to tone down weapons that have tons of attacks or units that can upgrade with tons of attacks. We want to tone down the amount of special rules that there are that give -1 to hit. And so we're modifying those. For example, in this case, to defense +1. Yeah. What else? Flamers are changing. Gravity weapons are changing. Oh yeah, fusion weapons. So right now, right now there are some units, basic infantry units that can take heavy fusion rifles, which are 18-inch A1 Deadly 6. This is too strong for a basic infantry unit. I don't think a basic infantry unit should be able to one-shot an aircraft or an aircraft or a walker or stuff like that. So we're going to slightly change the naming and slightly adapt it. So for those basic units, they're going to have some sort of like fusion cannon, which is still going to be 18 inches, and it's still 18 inches A1 AP4, but deadly 3. So it's basically an extended version of the fusion rifle. And then all the units where it makes sense, like tanks or whatever, heavy fusion rifles stay the same, 18 inches, A1, deadly 6, so don't worry about that. Cool, I think that's about it. Well, there are some other changes that are coming to or rather, all of the extra stuff is going to be adapted to it, right? So the campaign rules are being adapted to include these changes. The full rule books are going to be adapted to include these changes. The expansion packs, Gang Wars is going to be adapted. We're going to go through the mission packs and see if there's anything else that needs to be adapted there. The narrative campaigns are going to be adapted. Whatever. What I'm trying to say is all of the stuff is going to be adapted to make sense within this new edition. Yeah, I think that's about it. Cool. So we're an hour and a half in, which usually by now I would hop on to talking about I would hop onto the Q&A. So um okay. Um okay, I'm going to kind of speed run. I have like 25 more slides to go through. So we're going to kind of speed run this, guys. And I'm going to try to get to as much as I can within the next, let's say, 20 minutes, max half hour. And then we will do the Q&A and then we're done. So I also don't want to take up too much of your time. Okay, so what do we have? Oh, okay, so work on all of our fiction stuff continues. The world books are still in development. For those that don't know, the world books are going to be these free books that basically tell you everything about like the history of the worlds, how the worlds are structured, how the universe is structured, how different things work in this universe, and basically it's providing you with a baseline of everything you need to know to be able to create your own stories within the canon of the world. Here we can see a picture from the Grimdark Future World book, and here basically I think this picture is there's a whole section talking about different planet types and stuff like that. And here basically it's talking about like farming worlds. So like the idea that there are these planets that are basically all converted into enormous farming facilities. Yeah, we're also working on short stories as well. Lots of lore is coming, guys. Keep your eyes peeled. It's all coming. Okay, what else we got? Okay, cool. Let's go into the work in progress stuff. So, all right, what are we releasing next month for the Ratman? The Ratman is the final release for Ratman. Very cool. And this is going to be quite a big release, actually, for being a final release. So, number one, you're going to get the Great Death Roller. So, really cool. It's like a huge bike with like optional. You can, of course, remove them if you want. But these like big spikes on the side that kind of like crush the enemy. And at the top, you have a gunner with like this double, Gatling gun. Very cool, very powerful, cool unit in the game. Then we have the platforms. The platforms here we're only showing 2 variations, but actually the platform comes with 4 variations. Yeah, 4 variations. So you have a platform that is so the platform is basically carried by 8 rats, and then on top you kind of like change what you have. So you can have a sort of like you have some more like attack versions of them. So you have one version that has like an ogre in the front, and the ogre attacks with like a great bell or a great censer, and in the back actually there's like a priest. So you go facing the enemy and he smacks them. There's another attack version that basically has a sensor. So the idea is like it has this sort of like I don't know what to call it, like this big block of cement filled with like candles, and then it has like a sensor and that kind of like swings, and so the priest in the back is kind of like guiding or like casting a spell, and then the sensor shoots forward, and its gases get ignited by like these candles, and it just destroys the enemy. There's a version with a great bell, which you can see here on the right. So the great bell. So these are the more support versions. So the great bell, which kind of like provides buffs, and there's another version which is not shown here, which has like a holy statue. So there's like a statue of the mother rat. Looks very cool. This is fully modular. You can change the things. You can move them around. You can configure them how you want. You can actually configure the rats that are carrying it to go in both directions, because the more support ones want the support object to be in the back, whereas the attack ones want the attacking object to be in the front. So, for instance, in the left one, you can see that the ogre is right at the front, and whereas in the right one, you can see that the platform, the bell is right at the back. Yeah, these are actually very cool because they come with bonus stuff. So you are getting an extra free wizard on top of it, and you're actually getting an extra ogre on top of it. So you can use them however you want. What else do we got? We have the storm ogre. So let me tell you something. This picture here is very conservative. The storm ogres come with 42 versions. We kind of knocked it out of the park with them. So the storm ogres they're super modular. So they have 2 arms. On the arms they can have let me think. They can have gauntlets, they can have flamethrowers, they can have Gatling guns, they can have mortars, they can have death roller things, they can have shock weapons, they can have drill weapons. They also have backpacks. I think there's 6 different types of backpacks. Each backpack looks different. They also have little buddies that you can customize, and also they come with male and female heads. And actually, we are currently working on updating the ogres that you got last month. So you're going to get a female version of the regular ogres, and you're going to get a female version of the ogre captain. So ogres galore. This is going to be huge. Another thing. Okay, next things. So on the bottom right, you can see the militia. So the militia are kind of like um, regular rat workers and farmers that have taken up arms to fight. They're really cool. They come with like lots of different like weapon types. One comes with an axe, some would come with slings and stuff like that. They're very cool. As always, male and female versions, whatever. Then, okay, in the middle we have the big one. So this is something that people have been asking since a year ago when we first revealed the concept art for the Ratman. So this is the Ratman captain on a ferret, so on the giant ferret. Very cool. Again, it's modular. There are 3 different head types for the ferret. You can change the head of the captain, of course, to have male and female, and you can actually remove the captain as well. So if you want the ferret as a standalone, it also works as a standalone. And actually in the back, there's like 2 little rat buddies sneaking about and doing some funny stuff. And then, okay, one more thing. So, in the rules, you have heroes, and heroes can take a little rat buddy to kind of like the rat buddy has an ability called Warning Cry that basically helps them against ambush, whatever. And we thought, well, wouldn't it be cool to actually make a model for that? So on the bottom left, you can see that yes, we are releasing 5. So it's going to be a pack of 5 different versions of the little rat companion, and that goes with your little hero. And it's basically one for each of the gangs, of the guilds from the Ratman. So there's a royal one, a warrior one, a monk one, a assassin one, and an engineer one. Unfortunately, in this picture you cannot see them well, but they're all different. They all have different gear, completely different things, different assets. One is holding a banner. Very cool. And yeah. Oh, actually, one more thing that unfortunately we didn't put here. We also have a Ratman army standard bearer model coming. It wasn't here because we hadn't finished it in time, but it's coming. Cool. Now, what else we got? All right, cool. That was the Ratman. By the way, F's in chat because Ratman are over. Next month is it's the last month of the Ratman. Makes me a little sad. I love the Ratman. They have been really cool. We have learned a lot with the Ratman. And yeah, there's a lot of lessons here. People love them, and we're going to take a lot of the things that we learned here to the next factions. Okay, speed running through this. Battle Sisters. Blessed Sisters. Okay, what do you get? So number 1, you get the tank. The tank comes with lots of options, as always. You have the dozer blade at the front that you can replace. There's a simple version, the ornamented version. You can remove it. You have there's a little part there where right now you see like a little shrine. You can have different weapons there. It comes with sponsons. The sponsons can be removed if you don't want them, or you can have flamethrowers, machine guns, or heavy fusion rifles in there. At the top, you have a turret. The turret comes with 3 different types of cannon. I think it's a battle cannon, an anti-tank cannon, and a twin auto cannon. At the top, you can also have either a hatch, or you can have an additional sister that has a storm rifle or a machine gun. Guys, lots of stuff. One thing that's very important. So in this picture, we are showcasing that you can, if you want, put ornamental lamps on the corners. You don't have to. If you want to make sure that your turret can fully swing, you don't have to put those things there. On the left side, unfortunately, was not ready for renders yet. We have the exosuits. They're actually way bigger than they're shown in this preview here. The exosuits, well, very cool models. They're basically like sisters inside of like these bigger mechs. They're not as big as a walker. They're somewhere in between. They have lots of weapon options. They have swords. They have maces. They have arm-mounted storm rifles or grenade launchers. And on the other arm, they can mount flamer, heavy flamethrower, heavy fusion rifle, heavy machine gun. Whatever. Very cool. Okay, then what else we got? Okay, then we have the support sisters. So also very cool model. So the support sisters are basically like the heavy weapon teams of the sisters. Yeah, you get lots of options here. I think it's 5 poses, 3 different weapons. They have optional headgear. They can have like these sort of like helmets. They can have these masks. They look actually very badass. Lots of options for you to choose from. Yeah, they're very cool. I actually really like them. And then finally, we have 2 heroes. So in the middle, you can see the canonist. So the canonist comes with multiple options here. We're seeing 2 options: one for the army standard bearer, and then on the right, you can see like a nice big spear. I think it comes also with other options like a sword, a sword, mm, a sword, an energy fist, uh, what else? Rifles, pistols, all the usual stuff. She's very cool. And then a little bit on the right, you can actually see the witch. So the witch is the psychic from the psychic from the Blessed Sisters. She's also very cool. She comes with different options. She has different types of heads. She has heads that are singing. She has heads that are not singing. She has also like 2 different types of staffs. Yeah, very cool. Okay, so I think that's the preview for these armies. Okay, let's go to next. The legendary. So yes, we had not revealed the legendary yet. You guys are getting a first time reveal. So what is the legendary for the Blessed Sisters? It's the procession altar. So what is the procession altar? So it's basically like a mini diorama. It comes with like a really cool base. It has like this really large base, super detailed. It comes with the main procession altar, which is this kind of like extended vehicle with lots of candles. You cannot really see it in this picture, but like in the back, it has like a big statue with like 2 massive like flame swords. It has 6 protector sisters that are around it. These are special. They're not like the regular protectors. So they have like special masks that they wear that has like a little tear actually. They have special energy swords. There's one with like a banner. There's one with like a swinging a sensor. So that's also very cool. And then also in the middle, it comes um, with a winged hero. So this is kind of like almost like an avatar, not really, but like almost like an avatar of the God Queen. So winged hero with like a big spear. She has 4 wings, and of course, all of these are modular. So if you want to just use the procession altar, you can. If you just want the sister, the winged sister, you can. If you want to use the protectors on their own, you can. So always modular. Let me see here. Oh yeah, here, okay, you can see a top-down view. So here we can kind of like see the base. Very nice, lots of detail. And you can actually see like the 2 special protectors in the front. Okay, here we can see a bit more of the procession altar. Lots of detail on the sides. It has like little cubbies with like different details as well. Lots of candles and fire, like painted up. This is going to be absolutely beautiful. And then in the back, yes, we can see. Oh yeah, here you can actually see the statue that's in the back. You cannot really see it properly, but she has like two flame swords. And then of course you have the actual winged hero with her spear and her 4 wings. Okay, cool. What else we got? So, oh, sorry. Yeah, so that's the legendary for next month. But yeah, starting in April, we have some new loyalty rewards. One of them is gonna be the Lust Demons avatar. Unfortunately, I didn't have the renders ready by the time of this call. Whatever. But here is the Saurian Starhost Dread Behemoth. So, huge guy, massive. I mean, massive dino, lots of armor, lots of ornaments, these beautiful like big pipes that kind of like run along it, very sci-fi. And then at the top, ta-da! Big cannon with like 2 little geckos manning it. There's one like cheering, which I think is very cute. And yeah, it basically, yeah, it has this big cannon on its back. It's a big model. It's cool. Uh, he rocks. Okay, okay, I've been really speed running here. Okay, cool. Okay, concepts. I'm a little bit torn because I don't want to speedrun too much, especially with the concepts, but I also don't want to make this too long. Um, so okay, let me try. I will speedrun a little bit through some of the concepts, but there's a part of the concepts that I will not. Okay, so sisters concepts. So this is the models for the last release of the sisters, which is going to be in May. So first of all, you get the Celestials. So what are the Celestials? They're basically an elite version of the basic warriors, and they basically actually they match the same loadouts of the regular sisters. So I know that there's a lot of people that sure they think the blessed sisters are cool, blah 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 blah, but they don't really like that the regular warriors have like these nun capes. Although I think they're very cool, but they don't really like the nun capes. So if you want, these models can be used as regular warriors as well, and they have exposed armor. So they come with everything you would expect from the regular warriors units. So they have the rifles, they have the special weapons, they have the banner, they have the medic, they have the megaphone, they have the sergeant, they have the heavy weapons, they have everything that you can expect. Then we have the destroyer sisters. So the destroyers are basically sisters in heavy armor. These come with lots of different weapon options. So they have like these sort of like chainsaw fists. They have energy claws. They have shields. They have maces. They have swords. They have arm-mounted storm rifles. And actually, like they're a bit bigger and bulkier than regular sisters. So they're like on a 40 mil base. They also have the option for a special weapon, like for a heavy weapon. They have with helmet, without helmet, all the modularity you can expect. Also, you get a destroyer hero, of course. So this is a destroyer superior. She has a special helmet. She has a special different things. She has a special shield. She has a special sword. She has a special mace. Right, everything is special, but overall, she has the same sort of things as the other ones. Right, she has the claws. She has the swords. She has the chainsaw. She has the shield. She has the mace. All that stuff. What else you're going to be getting? The walkers. Okay, this is going to be very cool. Yeah, actually, like all these releases are very cool. Like this last release is also going to be very big. So you're going to get the walker. There's two versions of the walker. There's the assault walker and there's a support walker. And these also as always come with lots of options. So what are the walkers? They're bigger than the exosuits. They have a sister inside. They have different covers. Oh, by the way, the exosuit ones as well. They have different covers for the cockpit if you don't want to have like a sister exposed and painted there, so you can use that. They have lots of weapon options. They have like chainsaws, they have energy fists, they have flails, they have swords. I'm not sure about the swords. I think they have maces. They have arm-mounted machine guns. Lots of stuff. And here you can see one version. I think this might be the assault. No, I think this. Oh, I think this might be the support walker. Yes, and this is then the assault walker. So they're both walkers, so they have the same layout, but all the details change, all the ornaments change, the covered mask changes, and of course the poses are going to be different. But yes, very cool to have the walkers. And then finally, actually, we have a bonus model, which we had originally not planned, but we are actually adding. It's because a lot of people have been asking for it. We thought, hey, why not? And we're making a hero version of the exosuits. A lot of people asked for it. We thought it was a cool idea. And so the idea here is that, you have like an exosuit sister, and she has like I think she has like a special grenade launcher on her arm. She has like these rockets, rocket organ rockets from the back. She also has like a great sword. And we thought it was a very cool concept, so we decided to do it. Okay. Now let's talk to real deal. Okay, Human Empire. So, for those of you that don't know yet, a couple of months ago, we revealed that the next fantasy army after Ratman is going to be the Human Empire. This army is releasing in May, so, get ready, get excited. All right, let me quickly take you through, again, trying to speedrun a bit. Let me take you through a bit of the lore and the theme of this army, and then we'll look at some concepts. So, in the lore of Age of Fantasy, there used to be this great human empire in the world of Tyria, and there was a time that they were all united, and then there was a time of these big wars, the Havoc Wars, where the Havoc gods basically came to Tyrion, kind of like destroyed everything. And then at the end of the Havoc Wars, um, all of these, like this great alliance of wizards, basically managed to trap the Havoc gods in this orb, which is called the Orb of Fate. And then lots of time passes. The Empire keeps kind of like thriving, and eventually, like there's like this great emperor, and he has these twins, these twin children, a boy and a girl. And as he gets older, and he's kind of like gonna die, they kind of fight over the succession. And as they fight over the succession, they go to the room where this orb of fate is, and they drop it. And in dropping it, the orb explodes. It's basically like a small nuke that goes off in the heart of the empire, and this releases the Havoc gods. It creates the rift, right? So like these big cracks open that go throughout the whole world of Tyria. It creates the rift, and yeah, and it basically like well, it kind of like shatters the empire, and it kind of like destroys them. So in the current timeline, the current point in time in the world of Age of Fantasy, the Great Empire is kind of like shabby, but it's trying to like get back on its feet and fight back against the Havoc gods that have been released. Yeah, I'm really happy when all the lore is going to be out and you guys can read all of this. And but yes, so in the absence of a true successor, a true heir to the empire, there's kind of like this association, whatever. This all of these like little parts of the empire like kind of like vote over, have like a voting power. I don't want to get too much into it, but whatever. Basically, the wizards remain a very integral, since the wizards were the ones that helped trap the Havoc gods in the orb. They kind of became a big integral part of the empire as a whole, and part of their culture, and so on and so forth. And so we wanted to reflect this element of wizardry and of sorcery and whatever into the empire. And so the empire units are basically structured around five elements. So and each element has its own symbol, has its own shapes, and has its own animal associated to it. Sorry. So what are the elements? We have earth, which is usually for infantry, and its symbol is the boar. Its animal is the boar. We have fire, which is usually for like marksman type of units, and their animal is the salamander. We have air, which is for cavalry type units, and their animal is the eagle. And then we have water, which is for like tech/engineer type of situations, whose animal is the octopus. And then finally we have ether, which is about like the stars and the universe, and their animal is the lynx. And so yes, the whole faction, every unit in the faction corresponds to a different element, and you're going to see that reflected in the style. And also you're going to see most units are going to have little companions, which is one of the things that we learned from the Ratman that people really loved, and we really loved, which is the idea of like, hey, sure, we have this cool war game, but like let's kind of like have some fun with it and add like these little animals around. So yeah, that's kind of like the overall of the empire. Now let's go and check out some actual units. So what do we have? Okay, so the captain of the empire, this is basically like a leader for the troops. You can actually already see here how the elements of the empire kind of like kind of the elements of the empire kind of like reflect in their design. So you can see that the pauldron has a boar, right? Because the captain is part of the earth element for infantry. And then the captain on the horse, actually, because the horse is now part of cavalry, now includes the element of air, which is the eagle. So you can see on top of the horse head, you have the eagle, and there's also like wings on the armor. So yeah, very cool. This is the captain. He has like a nice cape. That's kind of like leading the troops. Then we have, this is very cool. So here it's called Furious Mob, but we're probably changing the name to Fanatics. So the Fanatics are actually one of the few infantry units in the game that are aligned with the element of ether. And basically, the fanatics are, are people that kind of see the shattering of the orb and the opening of the rift as like the end times are here, like this is the end of the world. And so they're kind of gone a little mad. And yeah, maybe you cannot really see it here, but like they have like all these cool like scar tattoos on their bodies, and they have lots of like weird weapons and squirrels and stuff like that. They're very cool. And yeah, and their animal is the lynx, so you might see a little lynx going around with them. Yeah, these are going to be very cool. Then we have the warriors, right? This is the basic infantry. So yeah, actually, this is a cool picture because you can kind of like see a bit of like all of the design theory that goes into the faction. So on the left hand side, you can see like the basic troops, right? So they have their armor and their stuff, but you can maybe here it's a bit small, but you can see that they're everything has the elements of their element, I suppose. So you can see that they have like a boar on a belt. Um, oh yeah, the symbol of the empire is like a 5-pointed star with a skull in the middle. So it's basically the 5 elements with the humanity in the middle. So this is another symbol that you will see throughout the faction. So they have that actually on their knee pad. You can see lots of different weapon options that we're trying. Oh, by the way, as another lesson that we learned from the Ratman that we want to keep pushing forward is, as with the Ratman, every unit is both male and female. So you're going to get male and female options. And here you can see lots of different like head types that we were experimenting with. You can see different shield types. The shield, 5 points, like the 5 elements of the empire. The boar representing the earth. You can see it on the weapons as well, right? The spear and the halberd have like a boar there. The swords have the 5-pointed star with the skull in the middle of the empire. You can see actually the companions, the little fighting boars. And then other different elements that you can see, like armor and stuff like that, and poses. So yeah, and yes, male and female for everything. And that's really like, well, where it applies. This is really a philosophy that we want to keep going forward. So providing male and female options for as many things as we can. Okay, and then finally for the empire, so this is the release of May, right? So captain on horse, furious mob, fanatics, warriors, and then cavalry. Their basic cavalry, their basic knights. Yeah, and you can see a pre-concept here. So again, their element is air, so you can see the eagle. They have an eagle on the side, they have an eagle in the front. They have this sort of like the eagle ornaments on their helmets. Yeah, and this is this is gonna be very cool. Okay, cool. And then okay. Oh, okay, cool. We're actually winding down. And then finally for May, we are going to have a new legendary model, which is going to be the Alien Hive's Devourer Titan. This actually kind of gives a little bit of a hint as to what our new Devourer will look like. So for those of you that don't know, we're actually working on so we're reworking the Alien Hives, and we're going to make a condensed release of them. So instead of re-releasing them over 6 months, we're going to have a 3-month period where we release lots of Alien Hives models for you to enjoy. A lot of them are going to basically have new weapons. A lot of them are going to be like retextured to be like more advanced. And then some of them are going to be completely new models. So I think all of the big monsters, except for maybe the Carnivorex and the Winged Titan, I think, yeah, all of those are going to be reworked to be more in line with the idea that we have of the faction. And yeah, you can see the models here, and I think, oh yeah, there's like a naked version on the left, which I thought was funny, and then you can see a close-up of the head on the right. Yeah. Cool. I think okay, I know that there's people that want to talk about the Alien Hives rework. It's still gonna be a bit before we actually get to it, so I think maybe it's something that we can discuss more in more detail as we come along. Although, actually, you know what? Go on Patreon, check out the latest roadmap. We made a big post. We explain everything. We go through all the units. We let you know what happens with all the units. We let you know what happens with the models you already purchased. We explain everything. Yeah, Yeah, that's the idea. Okay, cool. We have finally 2 hours and 5 minutes. Not bad, not bad. Managed to speed run through this. We're finally at the Q&A section. So, as you know, people post the Q&A questions before the the stream. And so I'm going to bust out the questions here and and basically read them for you and answer. Okay, cool. So mm, 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 okay, okay, sorry. Here are the questions. So, I'm currently designing my own army based around some models I already have. Do you have any tips on how to make it fun to play with and against? Um, well, I would highly recommend that you go to the Army Forge studio and read. There's like a big roundup talking about everything in an army. I think honestly, what makes an army fun? For me, I think it's definitely you can't you want an army that is good at some things and bad at others. If you make an army that's really good at everything or that is really bad at everything or whatever, it kind of gets boring. So you want to make something that's good at some things and bad at others, and ideally you also want them to have some sort of like weird quirk um, that makes them feel a little bit unique. Maybe one thing you can do is like check out a unit type that is very common in the games. I don't know, jump troops, right? Check out how jump troops usually work, right? They have ambush and flying, and then think like, okay, how can I spin these around to make them different? How can I make them sort of like break the mold but stay recognizable and be kind of fun? And in terms of like making something that is fun to play against, well, definitely don't make an army that is good at everything, right? You want there to be a balance. Um, yeah, you want there to be a balance. You want to make sure that um, if your opponent faces your army, if every single one of your units has an answer to every single one of the enemy threats, it's boring, and it also starts feeling like cheesy. So don't do that. Yeah, but really, like I highly recommend going through the um, army guideline creation guidelines and tips and tricks in the thing. It really goes in depth. Have you considered incorporating 1+ or 0+ armor saves for vehicles in Grimdark Future and reducing their tough value? No, there's not really any plans for that. Vehicles are going to stay at defense 2 up and with their current tough values. I have considered maybe having some vehicles that could be defense 3 up. Not 100% sure. Something to consider. What are the top 10 countries by supporters? So, okay, I actually had seen this question before the stream. I don't have a top 10 from Patreon because Patreon it's not really great at providing data. Let me put it that way. But I can take a look at our website and tell you where most people are from in our website. So, all right. So, where do most people come from that reach us? So, US is the biggest. Then we have UK. Then we have Germany, Canada, Australia, France, Spain, Italy, Poland, and Sweden. Those are the top countries that people come from. When did you start playing miniature games and what inspired to create the OPR company? Sure, I'll answer this one again. I started playing, I suppose, when I was like 12, something like that. No, maybe I was younger. No, I must have been younger. So I started playing when the 40K third edition box came out, and I think that was around 98 or 99. So I must have been around 9 or 10 years old, something like that. Yeah, and what inspired me to make the company? Well, basically, I played as a kid. I had a lot of fun. Then I grew up, and I started being with girls and going out and partying, and then university and all that stuff. And then eventually, like I came back from university and I was staying at my mother's house, and I found the old miniatures in the basement. And I thought, oh, these are really cool. Like, let me check out how it is to play. And then I went online and I saw what it takes to learn the games, and these books with hundreds of pages, and then you need like all of these additional books and the codices and the army books, and then you need um it's really huge. It's a huge investment, and I thought like, wow, this is crazy. Like I'm not going to be able to get back into this. And then at some point I just thought like, well, I remember like I was actually on 4chan on the TG board, which is dedicated to like tabletop games. And I was chatting with people there, and yeah, the simple question came, and it was like, what if we took, what if somebody took, um, a game like 40K and just put it on a single page? And, you know, I did that. People liked it. I kept sharing it. People kept resharing it. Eventually, I opened the first blog that grew, and so on and so forth. And now we're here 8 years later. Um, yeah, almost 9 years later. April 14th is the anniversary. Okay. Are there other currently existing model ranges besides alien hives that you'd like to see reworked? Um, no. Okay, I think this needs to be very clear. So, why are the alien hives being reworked? From all the armies we made, they are the one army that I really feel is I don't know how to say it. It's kind of like a divided army. I feel like all the core troops look nice. They have a good style. They're consistent across the board, and all of the big stuff is a mess. It's just they all look different. They don't look like they match each other or the rest of the army. The quality of them is not very good. They're very blurry. The poses are not that good. The textures are not that good. They don't fit the style. And then also like lots of units are missing like very very critical weapon options, and so they are the only army that I really wanted to rework. The one thing that really sparked this idea of like we must rework them is when we started making art and we started making these really beautiful illustrations for the games. Every time we had to like we were thinking like, okay, let's make a beautiful illustration for like the alien hives. It was just like, oof, like I I don't want to make an illustration of certain units because they just look ugly. They just don't fit the style. They just don't look good. And so it was okay. We must change it. If we have an army that we are hesitant to make art for, something is clearly wrong, and we need to change it. So they're the only army that is being reworked and redone. That being said, as the production team grows and as we have a little bit more free time to do extra stuff, we are going to add small things to existing units from old armies to kind of like fill out their things. So a lot of armies have heroes that have no weapon options. We're going to add weapon options. Fantasy armies, a lot of armies don't have a model for the army standard bearer. We're going to add that. Some of the older vehicles don't have additional weapon options. We're going to add that. The scale on some of the models is wrong. It's like you have tough 3 models, which are usually meant to be 50 millimeters tall, that are like 30 millimeters tall or whatever, 35 millimeters tall. So we're going to adapt some things, and but those are going to be done as we have time for them, as we feel like it, and then we're also just going to add them like as a bonus on Patreon, and just like, hey, this month you get this bonus model, or these 3 bonus models, or this model now gets these weapon options, or whatever. This model that didn't have a command group gets a command group, and so on and so forth. Another thing we would like to do actually is on some of the armies, again, where it makes sense, provide options for female models. So I don't know. Duchies of Vinci, right? Duchies of Vinci, they have, for instance, I don't know, the inventor, right? Sure, we have this really cool inventor with a big beard, but it's like, why don't we have a female inventor, right? So we could do that. So, but again, these are not going to be full reworks. They're not going to be full re-releases. They're just going to be like, hey, every now and then we just drop a cool unit for you to have. Okay, cool. Then next question. For the Ratman. Okay. Oh, this is a 3-part question. So number 1, the process that creates rat ogres, giant ferrets, etc. Is this a gradual, irreversible change? Yes. So my idea is that it's they slowly grow them, they reach a certain max size, so to say, and then it kind of like stops there. You can't ungrow, so to say. It's not like the Hulk that grows and then shrinks. Does the rat ogre giant ammo process only work on those species? Sorry, and the rest of the question goes: if a human or orc were to put through the same process, would we get bigger version of the tomb? The thing is, like, I assume that the serum that they use is specifically adapted to work with those species. So I think if a human injected himself with the serum that you use to make a rat ogre, you would get some sort of like abomination, or you would die, or your heart would explode or something. But I assume that you could um, adapt it to make a human grow. Actually, there are giants in the Age of Fantasy universe, and there is an actual lore explanation of why there are humanoid giants, and it kind of goes in this direction, kind of. And the third question is: will we see an alternative Titan for Ratman clans, except for the gods? So, like, would we get a Titanic Ferret or Fox or whatever? So, in the long run, yes. So, right now, after the Ratman are finished next month, the only model that is missing is the giant ogre with the priest. So that's going to be a loyalty reward. I don't know, a couple of months from now. So that model is going to be like that. But in as we keep releasing armies and whatever, we have the monthly legendary model that we release, right? And we do cycle through the army. So like you've been getting like a lot of like demons and stuff like that because they're the newest army. But now you're going to get one for the alien hives, and then we're going to release a new one for the mummified undead, and then we're going to release a new one for the Duchies of Vinci and stuff like that. So eventually, we're going to release new ones for the Ratman. And let me tell you something: we have a concept for a giant otter, and it looks amazing. So one day. Cool. What else? Can Feudal Guard be reanimated and updated continuously as a set of upgrades for HTF? No, but as we now finally are going to have the partner lists on Army Forge for everybody to join, I have already contacted the team from the Maker's Cult, and we're talking about transferring the armies to them so that then they can upkeep the Feudal Guard. It can stay in the game, people can play it, and whenever they make new models, if they want to change the rules, they can update them. And I also want to give them the old PDFs for the Machine Cult Defilers so that they can also put the Machine Cult Defilers back. And so the Feudal Guard and Machine Cult Defilers are going to live on, but under the patronage, whatever, under the command of the Maker's Cult. Okay, another question that we get often, but I think it's important to answer. When will small scale OPR models and rules release? So, when it's ready, I really don't know. We were hoping to have them done 9 months ago by now, I suppose. But there was a lot of issues with the production of the small scale models, and the rules also were kind of on hold because we were focusing on other things. So I don't know when they will be released. I am hoping still this year, but I don't know. Does the Duchies of Vinci terrain currently have a place on the terrain release timeline? Yes. We already have all the concept art for it. But currently the terrain team is focusing on other terrains, but we will get to it, and you will get a full set of Duchies of Vinci terrain. Okay, then we have another similar question. Will we get Ratman terrain for 2D or 3D? Yes, you're going to get 3D printable and 2D printable Ratman terrain. Will the Ratman platform have a unique base for all its variations so that we can swap the pieces? Yes, I actually was talking about this a bit before. Like, it's all swappable, so you don't have to like reprint the whole platform all the time. Some of the Blessed Sister units seem to have a glass-like cockpit. Will these be a separate STL? So they're actually not glass-like cockpits. They're actually fully solid cockpits. I think for the exosuits, we have like a sort of like mask cockpit and like a skull cockpit. They actually look kind of funky. I'm very curious to see how people feel about them. So they're coming as separate STLs, but they're not transparent. Okay, cool. So these were all the top questions that I wanted to answer. All right, we are 20 minutes over. As usual, let me quickly scan through here and see if there were any questions. If you guys have any questions right now, I'm going to be on for the next 10 minutes. Post them now whilst I go through this here. Okay, somebody asked, does this mean that the old alien hives will be gone? Again, check out the post, but basically any models that you already own that are being completely remade are going to be archived, so you always have access to them. Any models that are just getting like an additional update, like new weapon options or whatever, you're going to get those updates for free. Any models that are completely new, those are going to be available via Patreon. Where is the post for the alien hives? It's on Patreon. Are you planning to add other creator armies to the army builder? Yes. Like I was saying, there's going to be a tab for the partner lists, and eventually, if everything works out well, you're also going to have the fan lists there. Somebody asks, do you fix the bases too, since they are stretched out of the 25mm base? I'm not sure what you mean. You might be talking about the poses, in which case, yes. So there are a couple of models. I think it's mainly the grunts, so the assault grunts, shooter grunts, and the soul snatchers, and maybe the snatcher lord as well. I don't remember exactly right now. That right now the poses are out of their base, and all of those poses are being adapted to fit on the base. So that's something we've been hearing about for 3 years. So we're happy to change that. Will you be charging for the add-on packs outside of Patreon? Yes, paid content is paid outside of Patreon, and it's paid inside the Patreon, I suppose. Have you considered making upgrade packs for armies, space guns for the Ratman? No. We have plans to eventually, at some point, make a Ratman clan sci-fi army, but yeah. Will we have male blessed sisters? No plans for that. Did you ever consider using the metric system? No, not really. Why are we using imperial units? Because it's the standard in wargaming, and it's been the standard for 40 years. And a big part of OPR is kind of like to keep things streamlined, and people are used to the imperial system, so we're going to keep using the imperial system. It's the same reason we use d6s, right? We could be using d10s or d12s, but everybody knows and has d6s. It's the simplest dice that everybody understands, even non-gamers. So that's why we have d6s. Any plans for a more Warband focused game for fantasy a la Mordheim? Yes, we would like to make a special version. My God, my beard is really itchy. I'm sorry. I really have to cut this magnificent beard. There are plans for making an expansion pack like Gang Wars for fantasy, but I still haven't gotten to that. Oh, sorry. So the person clarified the question about the bases. If you check the bottom part on a 50mm base, it's wider than on a 20mm base. So the angle, no, that's by design. The angle of the bases is designed to be longer and wider on the bigger, wider bases, and narrower and taller on the smaller bases. Some mummified undead are also out of bases. Maybe we will fix those in the future as well. Any chance I could get a last-minute birthday shout-out? Shout out to Skulldoggery, I suppose. Happy birthday. Do Battle Brothers heavy rifles fire lasers, blaster bolts, or projectiles? They fire projectiles. Okay. Again, somebody's asking questions about the alien hives. Really, go on the post. It's all explained there. I don't want to keep going here and ask lots of individual questions. Go on the post. It's all there. Read the post. Any news on the FTL Grimdark Future release? Oh, actually, I'm slightly thinking of changing the name. from Grimdark Future FTL to Grimdark Future Warfleets. Anyway, it's already how people kind of like call it. So, any plans on the release? Not 100% sure. It kind of depends, I suppose, on. I would like to. Okay, so I would like to keep it on Patreon for a couple more months, just to get a bit more feedback. And I also want to really see if we are able to release, because we would love to have it in Army Forge as well, and would like to see if we would be able to have it release to the public coinciding with the release of like an Army Forge builder for it. If we can do that within the next couple of months, then yes. If not, I'll just release it with the PDF as it is now. Is there a way to bring more powerful units into skirmish? No. There's a reason why skirmish is small, and we're not going to break that. Fluff for the Human Empire. Is it a big homogenous state or a loose coalition of smaller states and cities? Is it feasible for Empire to fight Empire? Yes, actually. So, I don't want to get too much into it, but basically, like, you have the core Imperial city and whatever remains of it, because it has like a big crater in the middle, essentially. And then you have lots of different like smaller Imperial states, and each state kind of like has their own, let's say, ambassadors, and all of those work together with the Imperial city to kind of like try and hold together this semblance of an empire, because it used to be really great. It used to span all of Tyria, all the way from the north to all the way to down, even to the deserts, right? The mummified, what is now the mummified undead, used to be a desert kingdom that was part of the empire as well. And actually, part of the lore of the empire is like, because they had people from all over the place, you have a lot of diversity, right? You have people looking different, different cultures, everything kind of mixed. Anyway, but yeah, so like now it's kind of like all these like smaller, let's say, empire free states. I'm not sure what to call them. And they're all kind of like trying to work together. But yes, you could totally have conflict between them. We generally make the things very open for, so that you can kind of like do whatever you want. Any new info on FDM based terrain? No, we never announced that there would be FDM based terrain. What thread on TG did you keep posting OPR to gain traction? I mean, at the time, we're talking 8 years ago, 2014, 9 years ago. At the time, I think it was just some random. It was just some random threads. I don't even remember what they were. Just some random gaming threads where we were discussing fan brew games. And then for a while there were OPR specific threads. And then eventually, like, I said, okay, fuck it, let's just let's make a blog. And then I moved to the blog, and then I never, I still check out TG sometimes, but I never really post there anymore. Yeah, I actually, it's funny because I see people there. There's like a lot of debates about OPR and stuff like that, and I see a lot of people hating and saying that, like, OPR has their people there shilling, and it's like, no, really, like, as much as I love Fortune and TG, and I love what the community has done for us, like, we have much better things to do than to go and shill on TG to promote our games. It's almost funny to think that somebody. It's funny to think that somebody imagines that the CEO of a company spends their time on TG, making posts shilling about their game when they have, a huge audience of like over 10,000 people. So, yeah. Okay, is the Duchy of Vinci aligned with the Human Empire? There are two separate things. What is the priority for next game? FTL, small scale, or AF Quest? They're kind of running in parallel because they're also kind of being developed by different people. So whilst I am at the head of them, different people are helping with each. So I wouldn't say that there is a priority. In terms of like release time, I assume that FTL is the closest one to release. And then small scale or quest are both a bit further out. Not really sure. I would assume it depends on the tooling as well. I would assume that quest might be released before small scale, but I'm not sure because small scale, in a sense, it's much easier because it's just kind of like an adaptation of the big games in a way. Really not sure. I would say FTL first and then the other two games. Okay. Okay. Let's see. One last question. I'm going to answer this. What about mid-scale Grimdark Future? I mean, you can already play mid-scale Grimdark Future. You can play with. You don't have to double up your units to units of 10. You can use units of 5. That's why actually we recommend as a starting size 750 points, because you can take multiple smaller units of 5 and have a nice little game and enjoy that. So yeah. Okay, guys, I am going to have to stop here. I see people keep asking questions. We're never going to get out of this. So if you have any questions, I am going to, of course, be on Discord. Feel free to chat me up in the general chat there. I'm also going to post a new link. So this stream is going to then be posted on the website, and then there I will also post a link to a new questionnaire, a question form. So if you have any questions that you want really answered, and you don't get them answered on Discord, post them there, and that's it. Thank you, everyone. I hope you are excited about everything we got coming. Lots of things to come. Website is going to expand. Lore, of course, Army Forge Studio, of course, 3rd edition, and it's all going to be amazing. All right. Thank you, everyone.